You are the operant power of your reality, the creator of your destiny. Too often we fall into the trap of seeking approval, bending ourselves to fit into the molds others design for us. But let me tell you this, your worth is not determined by others' opinions. It is rooted in the divine power within you. To step out of the shadow of being the nice guy, you must first awaken to the truth. You are far more than a people pleaser, you are the creator of your own life. Recognize that you are the operant power of your reality. Everything you experience, every interaction, every relationship, and every outcome is a reflection of the consciousness you hold within. Being the nice guy often stems from the mistaken belief that your value depends on how much you give, how much you compromise, or how well you fit into others' expectations. This belief, while seemingly noble, is rooted in a lack of awareness of your true power. You are not here to mold yourself to the world, you are here to shape the world to align with the vision you hold in your imagination. To claim your divine power, you must first recognize that the source of all change and creation lies within you. The infinite intelligence that created the universe resides within you, and it is through your awareness of this truth that you begin to transform. The so-called nice guy mindset operates on the premise of scarcity, believing that love, respect, or success must be earned by overextending yourself. But this is a lie. All that you seek is already within you, waiting to be claimed by your unwavering belief in your worth. The power you possess is not something external, nor is it something you need to fight for. It is inherent in your being, yet many have been conditioned to overlook this truth, instead placing that power in the hands of others seeking validation, approval, and permission. The moment you understand that you are the cause of your reality, not its effect, you will no longer need to depend on the opinions or judgments of others. You will realize that every time you compromise your truth to appease someone else, you are denying the divine essence within you. To stop being the nice guy, you must break free from the illusion that you are powerless without others' acceptance. True power lies in authenticity, in standing firm in who you are without the need to conform. This requires faith in your inherent worth, faith in the unseen forces that respond to your inner convictions, and faith in the reality you desire to create. Begin to see yourself not as someone who needs to prove anything, but as someone who already embodies the qualities you wish others to recognize. If you see yourself as powerful, confident, and deserving, the world will reflect this back to you. Imagine for a moment that you are an artist, and your life is the canvas. The nice guy mentality is like painting with borrowed brushes and diluted colors, always trying to match the expectations of others. But when you recognize your divine power, you realize that you can create with bold, vibrant strokes, unapologetically expressing the vision you hold within. You stop asking for permission to exist as you truly are because you know that your existence is your birthright, and it is enough. When you stop seeking approval, you naturally command respect, not because you force it, but because your energy shifts to one of self assuredness. This shift is not about becoming arrogant or dismissive of others, it is about recognizing that your primary responsibility is to honor yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup, nor can you build meaningful relationships on the foundation of self sacrifice and resentment. By stepping into your power, you show others what it means to value oneself, and in doing so, you inspire them to do the same. You create harmony not by overextending, but by living authentically. Claiming your divine power requires courage. It means letting go of the fear of rejection and trusting that those who align with your higher self will naturally be drawn to you. It means no longer living in reaction to the demands of others, but instead taking deliberate actions that align with your own values and desires. This courage is not born from force, but from the quiet realization that you are enough, just as you are. The divine does not create anything incomplete or unworthy, and you are no exception. As you embrace this truth, you will find that the need to be nice fades away, replaced by a deep sense of peace and purpose. You will no longer measure your worth by how much you do for others, but by how faithfully you honor the divine power within you. And as you do, you will not only transform yourself, but also the world around you. For the outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. To shift the inner assumption is to understand that your external reality is a direct reflection of your internal state of mind. The assumptions you hold about yourself, your worth, and the world around you shape every experience you have. The nice guy is often driven by the assumption that his value is derived from the approval and validation of others. He believes that in order to be loved, respected, or acknowledged, he must give endlessly, sacrifice his needs, and remain agreeable at all costs. But to move beyond this pattern, you must first recognize that the key to changing how the world treats you lies in changing how you see yourself. The first step is realizing that you are not a passive participant in life. You are not merely reacting to the world, you are actively creating it through your assumptions, beliefs, and thoughts. Every time you tell yourself that you must be nice to gain approval, you are reinforcing the assumption that your value is conditional, dependent on the acceptance of others. But this is a false assumption, a self limiting belief that keeps you trapped in a cycle of trying to please people at the expense of your own happiness. When you shift this inner assumption, you begin to understand that you do not need to sacrifice your authenticity to be worthy of love and respect. To change your assumption about yourself, you must begin by assuming the feeling of being respected, valued, and powerful. This means recognizing that your self worth is not contingent upon the approval of others, but instead is inherent in who you are. Imagine, for a moment, embodying the feeling of self respect as if you already possess everything you need. When you carry this assumption with you, when you assume the feeling of already being worthy, your actions will begin to align with this new belief. You will naturally set boundaries, express your needs clearly, and honor yourself in ways you never thought possible. The key here is to embody the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Neville Goddard often spoke of the power of assumption, the idea that when you assume the state of being you desire, the world will reflect it back to you. If you assume that you are powerful, respected, and deserving, your external world will begin to shift in response to this inner change. Your interactions will no longer be dictated by the need to please or accommodate others, but by the authentic expression of who you truly are. The nice guy is not just a victim of circumstance, he is a product of his own assumptions. And the beauty of this realization is that if you can change your assumptions, you can change your entire life. This shift requires deep inner work, for it is not enough to merely wish for change. You must begin to feel the change as though it has already happened. The nice guy must stop seeing himself as someone who has to earn his place by constantly pleasing others, and instead assume the state of someone who knows they are worthy of respect and love without needing to prove it. It is not about changing the external circumstances, it is about changing the internal assumptions that dictate how you interact with the world. When you start to assume that you are worthy and deserving, your life will begin to reflect this truth. As you shift your assumptions, you will notice a profound change in the way others treat you. People will respond to the energy you project, and when you begin to live in the assumption of self-worth, others will naturally start to treat you with the same respect. But remember, this transformation begins within you. No amount of external validation will ever truly satisfy you if you do not first assume that you are worthy on your own terms. The nice guy often looks outward for confirmation, but the truth is the only validation you need is the one you give yourself. By shifting your inner assumption, you free yourself from the need for external validation and you allow your true power to emerge. This process is gradual but profound. At first, it may feel uncomfortable to assume that you are worthy of love and respect without having to earn it. You may find yourself slipping back into old patterns of seeking approval or people pleasing. But each time you notice this, remind yourself of your divine power. Refuse to accept the assumption that your worth is conditional, and instead stand firm in the truth that you are inherently worthy. It may take time, but as you continue to assume the feeling of being the person you wish to be, you will see that your external reality will begin to mirror these new assumptions. You will no longer feel the need to be the nice guy, because you will be living as the true version of yourself, the person who commands respect and stands firm in their own value. The law of reflection teaches us that the world around us is a mirror of what we hold within. It is a profound and empowering truth, for it reveals that the way we perceive ourselves directly influences how others perceive us. If you find yourself constantly playing the role of the nice guy bending over backward to please others and seeking validation, it is a reflection of how you see yourself in relation to the world. The law of reflection states that the energy you project inwardly will be mirrored in your outward experiences. In other words, how you feel about yourself will be reflected in how others treat you. When you live in a state of seeking approval, always trying to gain the favor of others by being agreeable and accommodating, this energy is transmitted to those around you. People, whether consciously or unconsciously, pick up on this energy and respond accordingly. They sense your need for validation, and as a result, they may not treat you with the respect or value that you desire. The world responds to the energy you carry within yourself, and if that energy is one of self-doubt or insecurity, others will mirror that back to you. You may find that people take advantage of your kindness or overlook your needs because you are projecting the energy of someone who does not value themselves enough to set boundaries or assert their desires. However, when you begin to shift your internal state, when you start to respect and value yourself deeply, this energy will radiate outward, and the world will begin to mirror this change. The law of reflection operates in such a way that when you believe in your own worth and live in alignment with your highest self, others will begin to recognize and reflect this back to you. If you start to see yourself as deserving of love, respect, and success, others will begin to treat you as though you are deserving of those things. You will find that people are more likely to honor your boundaries, listen to your opinions, and respect your time, because you are no longer projecting the energy of someone who needs to please others in order to feel worthy. This shift is not about manipulating others or trying to control their reactions. It is about shifting the energy you hold within. The law of reflection operates on the principle that everything you experience is a direct reflection of your inner state. If you want to change how people treat you, you must first change how you treat yourself. Begin by recognizing that you are worthy of respect and love simply because you exist, not because of anything you do to earn it. When you hold this truth firmly within you, the world will begin to reflect it back to you in ways that you may have never imagined. It is important to remember that this process is not immediate. The world does not change overnight, but as you begin to cultivate a sense of inner worth and self respect, the reflections in your external reality will start to shift. It may take time for people to adjust to the new energy you are projecting, but the key is to remain firm in your new belief about yourself. Do not allow external circumstances or the behavior of others to shake your confidence. The more you align with your true worth, the more the world will reflect this back to you. Living in alignment with the law of reflection requires consistency. You cannot change the way you perceive yourself one day and fall back into old patterns the next. It takes practice to consistently hold the belief that you are worthy of respect and love. And it requires patience as the world gradually begins to reflect this new energy. But as you continue to live in this higher state of self regard, the external world will change and people will begin to respond to you differently. The beauty of the law of reflection is that it empowers you to create your reality from within. You no longer have to wait for others to validate you or treat you with respect. You can start by validating yourself and honoring your worth, and the world will naturally mirror that energy. No longer will you feel the need to please others to gain their approval, because you will know that your value is inherent and not contingent on external validation. When you understand that the world reflects your internal state, you realize that the power to change how others treat you lies entirely in your hands. You have the ability to create the reality you desire by first changing the way you see yourself. Daring to say no is one of the most powerful acts of self love and self respect you can offer yourself. For the nice guy, the idea of saying no often feels foreign, even threatening. There is a deep rooted belief that if you say no, you will disappoint others, cause conflict, or risk rejection. This fear can trap you in a cycle of people pleasing, where you constantly sacrifice your own needs and desires to keep others happy. But the truth is, saying no is not a selfish act, it is a necessary step in reclaiming your power, setting boundaries, and living in alignment with your true self. When you fail to say no when you need to, you are essentially telling the world that your needs are not important. You allow others to dictate your time, energy, and emotional resources, often at the expense of your own well being. Over time, this builds resentment, frustration, and exhaustion. You give so much of yourself, yet feel unappreciated and unseen, because the energy you expend in pleasing others is not reciprocated in a way that nurtures or fulfills you. This imbalance can cause you to lose sight of your own worth and become disconnected from your inner power. Saying no is an act of self respect. It is the recognition that your time, your energy, and your emotional well being are precious and deserve to be honored. By saying no, you are teaching others how to treat you. You are setting a standard that your needs matter just as much as theirs. When you say no, you are asserting your right to choose what aligns with your values and desires, and you are no longer allowing others to dictate your boundaries or take advantage of your kindness. The act of saying no also demonstrates to yourself that you have the strength and courage to stand in your truth. It is an affirmation that you are worthy of being treated with respect and that you are not willing to compromise your authenticity to gain approval or avoid conflict. Saying no does not make you a bad person. In fact, it makes you a more empowered and authentic person. By saying no when it is needed, you are demonstrating that you are in control of your life and that you are not willing to sacrifice your peace for the sake of pleasing others. It's important to understand that saying no does not mean you are rejecting people or being unkind. It simply means you are drawing a clear line between what is acceptable to you and what is not. The fear of rejection often arises from the misconception that if you set boundaries, people will not like you or they will think you are selfish. But in reality, healthy boundaries lead to healthier relationships. When you say no, you give others the opportunity to respect your limits and honor your needs. You allow space for relationships that are mutually respectful, where both parties can express their desires and boundaries without fear of judgment or resentment. Learning to say no is also an essential step in reclaiming your time and energy. Time is one of the most valuable resources you have, and every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve your highest good, you are giving away your most precious commodity. Saying no allows you to protect your time and energy so that you can invest them in things that truly matter to you, whether that's focusing on your personal goals, nurturing your passions, or taking time for self care. When you are constantly saying yes to others out of a sense of obligation or fear, you are neglecting the things that truly nourish and fulfill you. It is also crucial to understand that saying no does not make you less loving or compassionate. On the contrary, when you learn to say no, you are honoring both your needs and the needs of others. You can only give from a place of abundance, not depletion. By setting boundaries, you ensure that you have enough energy to show up for the people and causes that truly matter to you. Saying no is an act of self preservation, which ultimately allows you to be more present and engaged when you do say yes. As you begin to say no, it may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you have spent much of your life trying to please others. However, with practice, you will find that saying no becomes easier and the benefits are profound. You will start to notice a sense of peace and empowerment that comes from honoring your own needs. You will no longer feel drained or resentful, and you will develop stronger, more authentic relationships with those who respect your boundaries. Saying no is a declaration of your worth. It is the recognition that you deserve to live a life that aligns with your values and desires, not one that is dictated by the expectations of others. Living in the feeling of power is one of the most transformative practices you can adopt on your journey to self empowerment. It is the realization that your inner state shapes your external reality. The nice guy often seeks power outside of himself, believing that he must do something to earn respect or validation. But true power is not external, it is a state of being, a feeling that you cultivate from within. To live in the feeling of power is to recognize that you are the creator of your own reality, and your assumptions, beliefs, and emotions are the keys to unlocking that reality. Power is not about domination or control. It is about alignment with your highest self, standing firm in your authenticity, and knowing that you are enough just as you are. When you begin to live in the feeling of power, you stop seeking approval or validation from others because you recognize that your worth is inherent. This feeling of power is not contingent on external circumstances. It comes from knowing that you are the operant power in your own life. The world does not define you, you define the world through the energy and assumptions you carry with it. To live in the feeling of power, you must first shift your internal narrative. The nice guy is often consumed by the need to please others, fearing that without constant approval, he will not be loved or respected. This mindset is rooted in the belief that external validation is required to feel worthy. But when you start to live in the feeling of power, you begin to let go of this need. You stop relying on others to define your worth and instead begin to define it for yourself. You recognize that your value is not determined by how much you do for others or how well you fit into their expectations. It is defined by your inherent nature as a divine being capable of creating the life you desire. Living in the feeling of power means adopting the mindset of someone who already has what they desire. It is assuming the state of being that you wish to embody. If you want to be seen as confident, assertive, and respected, you must begin to assume that you already are those things. Your thoughts and emotions create your reality. And when you think, feel, and act as if you are already the person you wish to be, the world will begin to reflect that back to you. This is the power of assumption, the understanding that the internal state you cultivate determines the external reality you experience. This feeling of power is not something you need to seek from external sources. It is a feeling you create by choosing to align with your true essence, the divine power within you. When you live in this state of power, you no longer feel the need to prove yourself or seek validation. You understand that you are worthy of respect, love, and success without having to earn it through external means. This feeling of power is a quiet confidence that radiates from within, and it naturally attracts the respect and admiration of others. The key to living in the feeling of power is consistency. It is not enough to feel powerful one moment and then doubt yourself the next. You must train your mind and emotions to consistently align with the feeling of being empowered. This means choosing thoughts that support your worth, imagining yourself as the confident, assertive person you wish to be, and acting in ways that reflect this new self image. Over time, your inner state will become more stable, and the external world will begin to mirror this consistency. You will no longer be swayed by the opinions or actions of others because you will have anchored yourself firmly in your own power. Living in the feeling of power also involves setting clear boundaries and honoring your needs. When you are aligned with your inner power, you no longer tolerate situations or relationships that drain you or do not serve your highest good. You understand that your energy is precious and must be protected. By living in this state, you will naturally attract people and situations that reflect this respect for your boundaries. You will find that the more you assert your power, the more the world around you will respond with the same level of respect and reverence. This feeling of power is not about force or aggression, it is about being at peace with yourself and knowing that you have the ability to create the life you desire. It is the recognition that your thoughts, emotions, and assumptions are the tools you use to shape your reality. When you live in the feeling of power, you understand that you are the source of your own strength. You do not need to look outside of yourself for validation or approval because you know that your worth is inherent and unshakable. In living this way, you will discover that power is not something you acquire, it is something you awaken to. The more you embrace your own power, the more the world will reflect it back to you. People will treat you with respect, opportunities will present themselves, and you will attract circumstances that align with your highest self. The key is to remain in the feeling of power, to trust in your ability to create your reality, and to know that you are always in control. When you live in the feeling of power, you no longer have to seek approval because you already know that you are enough.